Hello and welcome everyone joining us here on the stream and coming into the Zoom room. We'll get started briefly. We'll just give it a sec for people to join the stream and to join us here on Zoom, and then we'll kick things off. So glad to see folks here, even if we can't see your faces. This is our back to school event of sorts since we took a short summer hiatus from our live streams. So I'm really looking forward to this. All right, looks like we have a nice critical mass of folks here on the stream and on the Zoom room, so we'll get started. Hello and welcome. On behalf of AIGA and Artbook, we are pleased to present Help Yourself by Mieke Gerritzen. Here's the book we're talking about today. We are constantly encouraged to lead the ideal life. In the past, our identities were shaped by our communities, family, and friends. Today, we write our own success stories on social media. We design our own identities to an unprecedented extent, constructing ourselves as we wish to be seen. There are ways of upgrading oneself, dieting to achieve the perfect body, transforming your talent into a successful business, finding bliss by meeting a new love. And therefore, there are new forms of creativity or self-design. So we're going to learn more about this from our author today. But before I formally introduce Mieke, our speaker, a few housekeeping notes. First of all, feel free to pop into the chat, say hello, tell us where you're tuning in from, maybe tell us what brought you to the event today, whether you're here on Zoom or watching on one of our live streams on LinkedIn or YouTube or Facebook. If you are in the Zoom, feel free to use the Q&A pod to direct your questions for later on. Makes it easier for us to keep track of. And if you are watching a live stream on social media, you can type in the comments there and our staff will be monitoring them. Also, a friendly reminder of AIGA's code of conduct: harassment and abusive behavior of any kind will not be tolerated. So let's just keep it nice and friendly. Now, it is my honor to introduce our guest author and speaker today. Mieke Gerritzen is a designer, artist, producer, and director born in Amsterdam. She is a graduate of the Rietveld Academy, and in the early 90s, Mieke was one of the first designers involved in the development of digital media in the Netherlands. She's the founder of the Image Society, and from 2009 to 2017, she was director of MOTI, the Museum of the Image. Mieke creates networks of many different designers, writers, and artists. And in 2001, she started the All Media Foundation for the organization and production of movies, publications, and events like the International Browser Day in New York, Berlin, and Amsterdam, and the biggest visual power shows in Amsterdam and Los Angeles. Mieke was also the head of the design department at Sandberg Institute from 2002 to 2009, the master's course connected to the Rietveld Academy in Amsterdam, and she's received many prizes and gives lectures and presentations worldwide, including the one today. So without further ado, I will turn things over to Mieke for her presentation, and I'll come back and host some Q&A later on. See you in a bit, everyone.
Hello, everyone. I'm online right now. Yeah, I think so.
Yes, you're online and we hear you. We see your screen and we hear you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for having me. And I hope you're all having a nice day. I'm going to talk about my book that came out last year, and Help Yourself. First, I will introduce myself for those who never heard of me before, to understand more about the context of the book a little bit. Of course, Sin Lee already introduced me very great, and but maybe now I will show you a couple of images that I created in the past. Well, I'm a designer, I'm a curator, I'm a bookmaker, and these are some of the books I did before. And this was for about 20 years I created these books. And I designed and initiated many memory games. what I always like to do. It's very fun. And I was director of the Museum of the Image, MOTI, and it was a nice museum. I did it for 8 years, and in the beginning it was the Museum for Graphic Design in the Netherlands. And after 3 years being a director, I changed the name to Museum of the Image because I thought graphic design was changing so much. This was an image of a fashion show in the museum, a show of a Dutch artist, and an image of a VR presentation of the museum shop, and a fashion show again. And this was a exhibition for children about visual culture. And this is Supermart, a supermarket with products ordered on color instead of categories. And then you look very different on products, which was very nice. And a show on visual culture. And my last slide of the museum is Planet Hype, and this was a show on internet culture. But today I will show you images and texts of my latest book, Help Yourself, The Rise of Self-Design. Most designers have some sort of idea of what self-design may be, I think. So we have to be rich, beautiful, and successful. We are constantly under pressure to lead a perfect life. So why a book about self-design? Boris Kreutz, a German philosopher living in New York, wrote an interesting article, and he says the ultimate problem of design concerns not how we design the world outside, but how we design ourselves. And that means how we deal with the way in which the world designs us. So doing more self-design leads probably to a more stronger identity. There was a time when our identity was defined by our neighborhood and family and friends, but nowadays we are supposed to write our own success stories and on social media platforms. And this book is made for you because you are already here, you're already born. More and more we are able to make man, but how shall we make him? We are the creative creator of ourselves. We design our own identity. We create our own image. You are a self-produced work of art. We present ourselves as we like to be seen. Help Yourself reflects on the self-help industry. Self-help is the most successful book genre today, one bestseller after the other. Designing your own self is an economic trend, a real industry that hides a competitive advertising market that promises to make our dreams come true. The books are made for fortune seekers. And if that happiness does not arise immediately, there are always other self-help books available. Self-help books are also addictive. The book has 30 chapters, and I'll walk you through some of the pages, and I will show you a glimpse of it. So, first chapter, you are makeable, this chapter body. So do you wear a smartwatch? Are you a self-tracker? Or is Google or Facebook tracking you? The smartphone became part of our body. I mean, not really, of course, but because if you lose the phone, you feel so incomplete, as if you're missing a limb. The smartphone is changing us. Are you human or a robot? And this is chapter automatization. Your life is full of habits, going to the supermarket every day, buying the same products all the time, having the same thoughts. So are you already becoming a robot? Do you think that the human will disappear? Machines are going to look like us. Do you have anything to hide? This is chapter privacy. Is it the solution to go offline if you are addicted to the information society. In Help Yourself, you can check who is watching you by filling in the form. Are you your own doctor, watching everything on internet? If you have something, this is a chapter health. Obesity is a worldwide problem that we still have to solve. Actually, citizens are entitled to darkness because to be fat and unhealthy should actually be a free choice. What are you? Chapter identity. Are you self-made? You should be the person you want to be. Or are you normal? Are you a groupie? Who designs your identity? For whom do you make yourself beautiful? Chapter beauty. Once Simone de Beauvoir said, the woman is a design of the man. She could say this because she was a famous feminist. Nowadays, nowadays you cannot say this anymore in the cancel culture we live in. Here you can find tips for the perfect selfie. Do you love yourself? This is chapter love. Love does change when we spend so much time online. Love became a product. You live in a world of Valentine's Days and romantic comedies that have turned sentiment into an industry. How extended is your family? Chapter family. So in how many family apps are you? People are more talking to screens than they talk to their families these days. We can construct our ideal families since we are makeable. Do you have digital sex? Chapter 6. Sex evaluates since digital tools are exploding. But I have to say, if you see the image on the right, this is a fake one. This is not possible yet, but you never know. How do you design your sex life? Worlds simply provide more space to develop and use your own images. And you can write your own sex scene in the book. Are you still living together? Chapter community. So are you watching yourself when you are in a Zoom meeting, like right now, maybe? I do sometimes, not today, but sometimes I do. Corona, of course, is very bad, but sometimes it makes us creative. Where is home? Do you feel at home everywhere? Do you feel at home, for example, at the home page of a website? Home is where the Wi-Fi connects automatically. What effect does all the screen communication have on us? Where are you? Chapter mobility. Not only we are mobile, also the bacteria are mobile. And this is what we are facing now with COVID. Do you feel lonely during a lockdown? In the super solo culture started coming from Japan, people choose to be alone. And this trend moves now very fast to the United States and to Europe. Are you a product? Chapter consuming. Are you dressed like a billboard? Are you for sale? People are so much working on their presence and identity. It looks like if we are products, so sort of people and goods are fusing. How much do you spend? What kind of consumer are you? You can fill it in the book. What do you learn from doing nothing? Chapter boredom. Getting bored is a new popular trend. Since we have smartphones, we have difficulties to relax. But what can we learn from our cat? Cats still don't have smartphones. Are you alone when you sleep? Chapter sleep. Sleeping is to be alone. And some people have difficulties with that. Because there's no time to rest in the 24-hour economy. Are you present? Chapter mindfulness. Have you trained your brainwaves? Is meditation the solution for our problems? Is meditation the answer to 50 years of overconsumption? Mindfulness became an enormous industry. Become who you are. Chapter career. The writer David Graeber introduced the bullshit job in his book. Many jobs are redundant and only cause bureaucracy. Fake it until you make it. How do you think about your own job? Are you an artwork? Chapter creativity. How do you turn your creativity into money? Creativity is a technological issue. We try to design creative robots by AI. We are all born as originals, but we die as copies. We combine, recombine, use, and reuse. Do you wear your brain outside your skull? Chapter knowledge. Is the cloud the place where you wear your brain outside your skull? Would you like to study at the Self-Design Academy? Do you think this kind of academic focus is necessary in our society? Are you a system animal? Chapter management. How organized are you? Thinking in boxes, living without a plan? Is your life a mess, or do you make lists? How playful are you? Chapter play. What role do you play? Are you a homo ludens? Is your life playful? Have you ever end up totally drunk on your own after a Zoom party with your colleagues? I did. Chapter power. Do you have the power over yourself? Are you dreaming of having power? Have you ever been a victim of sexual harassment? Is success your goal? Are you secretly working on success? Do you set the goals yourself for success? Test yourself in the book. Are you sensitive to success or failure? Chapter addiction. Are you a junkie? Are you an addict? Does endless scrolling feel like drugs? We live in times of emotional capitalism. So what are you addicted to? Is your depression an opportunity? Chapter depression. Can you recognize depression? Does gloom make you extra creative? Chapter fear. Are you afraid of yourself? Where are you afraid of? Flies, spiders, COVID, nationalism, your own thoughts? Fear is a product especially for insurance companies. Test your fairness in the book. Chapter true. True is a hot topic in the media society we live in. There are lots of lies going around. Yeah? Bread is bad for you, all these things. Is bluffing lying too? You have to create your own standards for lying. How will you live on after death? Chapter death. And this is my last slide. And it says, which tree would you like to be after that? You can choose your own tree. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that presentation, Mieke, for taking us through some of the pages of your book. I just wanted to turn it over to the audience now and let folks know you can use the Q&A pod right here in Zoom. If you'd like to ask Mieke any questions, if you're watching a live stream, feel free to post the questions there in the comment section and our staff members will surface it. But in the meantime, I'll kick it off with a few questions. The first one I had is about when did you know, or how did you feel when you were ready to start this book? You told us a little bit about your motivations for writing this book before, but tell us about the moment when you're like, oh, this idea needs to be a book, especially since this is not your first rodeo, as we say here, like you've written other books before. So when was the moment where you felt like, oh, this is the book that I need to do next?
Yeah, it was with my, I was looking around to all my friends and how they behave and what they were doing, and family, friends, and the people I work with normally, and so many people went into meditation and having coaching lessons and start working on themselves in a way. So I thought, well, this is my next topic. I would like to know more about it, because I'm myself, I don't think I'm so much into meditation and spiritual things and thinking. So I was just wondering what was going on in the world. And that's why I started my research for this.
It seems like from what you presented, but also having read through the book, you pose a lot of questions for self-reflection. So you clearly have a point of view from how you put things together and the layouts and your copy and all of that. But is that part of your intention, is to have some ambiguity or to allow readers to maybe answer their own questions and find their own way?
I'm definitely not giving all the answers. That's indeed, there's a lot of questions. I was thinking about it one time, that I thought, well, maybe I make a book with only questions. That could be a concept. And then I decided, no, I'm not going to do only questions. I'm going to say a little bit and then make some sort of direction. And I wanted to make a book which is reflective, actually reflective only, but also not making a parody on self-help books, but slightly ironic. So that was my intention, because I think there's a lot of in the whole industry of self-help books and the way that people make use of spiritual things, that I think there's a lot of commerce going on around it. And this is what I wanted to talk about.
Yeah, that was a really good point. I was actually going to ask you that as my next question about the tone of the book, because reading through it, there are parts of it that are really quite funny or, ironic in points. But yeah, I'm curious to learn more about where you were going with this, because you said you're not trying to make this like a parody either, but there's definitely some critique and some humor going on as the
It's very humoristic, and it's critical, it's ironical sometimes. And so I definitely didn't want to make a negative book. It should be it's a positive book. It really helps you. I hope it helps people when you want to know more about this whole area. But I didn't want to make a how can you say that, an activistic book.
Yeah. Definitely. That was my take from the book, having read through this, that it's like almost a chimera. It's this like hybrid of this self-help workbook, but it's also got humor, like an internet meme. You know, there's parts of it that feel like it's a website in a way, even though it's a printed book. And so taking together all of these different elements, it does feel positive, but also has that humor and critique in it as well.
Yeah, also, I would like to, it's the next step after this book. I really would like it when, if somebody would set up a self-design academy. I really would like to see that, a self-design academy, because I think it should be in the world, not only academies, design academies, but yeah, focused on yourself. I think it's interesting.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, you heard it here first. If anybody starts a self-design academy inspired by this book, definitely let us know. We'd love to see that in the world.
Yeah.
I wanted to turn it over to our first audience question. Thank you, Rose, for asking it. So Rose from Chicago wants to know, Mieke, what were you trying to achieve by writing the book? And did that change through the writing process? So did your goal change as you were writing the book?
Yeah, it took me a long time to create this book, because I started all over again 4 times, I think. Because it's a difficult topic. So because I didn't try to catch like 700 or 800 self-help books and then put it all in one book. But so I was just looking for my own point of view and the things that I wanted to tell about it. So yeah. And I hope that with the book that people take it, they have fun with it, but also take it serious, that self-design should be a thing. And that's what I wanted to achieve.
Wonderful. Just wanted to pause for a little bit and just give another plug for the book again before we go back to Q&A. I posted in the comment section links to get the book from our partners at Artbook, but you can get Miike's book from artbook.com using AIGA member 25 as the coupon code for 25% off. I also wanted to mention that this book is published by Valise, which is an Amsterdam-based independent publisher established to respond to the critical developments in contemporary art, theory, criticism, architecture, design, and photography in broad and imaginative ways. And so Valise is one of the publishers that you can get books from on Artbook, and they've published Miike's book. So I just wanted to do a plug for that so folks can get a copy if you'd like. Back to the audience, Jen has a comment, but I'll just surface it and see if you have any reactions to it, Mieke. Jen said in the chat she enjoys how all of the formatting seems to point back to consumerism, from the headlines, the fake ads, the bright colors. It does play with this visual language of internet memes and of advertising as well. So could you comment on that and how you were kind of playing with this visual language?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, well, actually, if you look at my work from the beginning, I think I'm some sort of an advertisement designer, but not for advertisement, for culture. Mm. And I always use the visual language of the commercial world, yeah, of course, my work is not about commerce. It's about a critical view on so many cultures that we live in. And so when I started this book, I really enjoyed, implementing my own visual language in these topics. So I just went totally crazy with my own style and the advertisement styles.
Wonderful.
Some sort.
Yeah, Yeah, it's just so fun with all the bright colors and how almost every page looks different. I mean, there's definitely a visual language throughout, but how every page is like a new discovery, I think, was a fun point for me.
Yeah,
Um,
this my style is a little bit a combination of very Dutch typography and very, I think, American shouting advertisement style,
yeah,
something like that.
that's cool how you're kind of combining these influences from both sides of the
Yeah.
Atlantic. We have a very great philosophical question from Louise in the Q&A. Louise wants to know, Mieke, do you think that there is a self outside of the designed one? Is there an authentic self?
Yeah, Louise, I think yes. Yes, there is, but this is not. This is maybe not the self that I'm talking about. I think there, yeah, of course, there is an authentic self, but this authentic self will be more and more a media issue, I think,
Mhm.
because you can be yourself, but yeah, there is a conflict going on in our being with the way we have to present ourselves all the time, and the way we act in the media. So I think there's um, I think that conflict is also, it's interesting, but it's also happening, I think.
Yeah. Thank you for tackling that one. I think it's so hard to differentiate, like, what is the authentic self when we're being influenced by media and social pressure and all of these things all the time, right? So even if there is an authentic self, how do you separate it from that self that we're projecting or performing in all of these
Yeah.
platforms? We have a follow-up question from Rose from Chicago, who wants to know, do you think that self-design is different for everyone? For example, one person might have a set of habits to achieve their best version of themselves, but another person might have a different set of habits. And so are there similar threads between most people that lead us in the direction of self-realization, or is it very much an individual kind of project that's very different from person to person?
I think it's it's very individual, I think, but I do think that we can make some sort of curriculum for self-design, and the same sort of curriculum we have, and when we learn normal design, or we learn interactive design, or we learn drawing or painting or those kind of things. So I think the way you can learn self-design can yeah, it's for everyone is different, I think, and yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
You can do you are unique, so you can do with the information and the whatever you want. Yeah.
Well, thank you for that. Wanted to go back to a question that's more about your process again for the book itself. Emma wanted to know, what was the inspiration behind writing the book and designing every page sort of in a custom way, right? Each page is a different layout. What were some of the challenging aspects in your design and writing process for the book?
Yeah, I did a lot of research for this book. So I was online almost every day for about 3 years, and I always like to react on visual elements that I found, and so the inspiration came always with came out of the research, actually. I like to react on visual languages that I see on the internet. But that's why I also started many times making the same book, because I couldn't find my own style in the beginning. And in the end, I had to go back to my own personal visual style to bring it back there. Otherwise, it would be a big mess of all kind of styles and visual languages, and then the book was not so strong, I think.
Yeah, thank you for that. We've got some more audience questions coming through, so thank you, everyone. Dan has a question about cultural differences in consumerism. Were there anything that you observed or noted from your book research process or just your life and career in general, the differences in consumer culture between the Netherlands and the US, and what you think some of those differences might be?
I don't know if there are so many differences between the United States and the Netherlands, but because I think in the Netherlands we took over a lot of American style consumerism, but I actually thought about it when I was making this book about the diversity. I mean, about other countries in the world, which are not the Western countries. But I decided in the end that this book is really for the Western cultures, because the book will never fit in the African culture, for example. Because they have such another life, they have such another view on the world, and view on self-help books and those kind of things. That's really an American and European product. Let's say it like, let's call it like that.
Yeah, I think that's a great point about situating the context of the book in this so-called Western or US European context, and that I think if we looked globally beyond that, there could be so many other takes on self-help or some other approach that they might not even call it self-help. On that, I think this is more of a historical question from Rachel. How has self-design changed over time? What did self-design look like before the digital age? Or is self-design really a digital phenomenon?
Good question. Nice. Yeah, I think self-design is came with the internet, I think. Maybe it started only in the beginning of the 90s, because the way we develop our identities and these kind of things, they are so much connected with online situations, and we didn't have that before. There was not so much communication. I mean, there was a lot of communication, but not in this way. So multimedia, and no, it's nice to think about that. Thank you for the question.
Yeah, so many meaty questions from the audience today. This is wonderful. We have the next one is from Carolyn, who wants to know. She says, Mieke, you've worked in many different media, from products, exhibitions, motion graphics, and of course, books. Why was it important for you to make this a book rather than maybe a digital artifact, an Instagram account, or some sort of ebook or website or something?
Yeah, I wanted to make a book because I wanted to create a reaction on the self-help books, and because they are mostly books, self-help books. That's really a genre. And so I really chose for a book, not for a website or an app or something. I'm at the moment I'm working on a smartphone movie, and the smartphone movie is about our relation with technology, and so that has to be a smartphone movie. But for the self-help book, I think this really should. It was supposed to be a book. Yes.
Yeah. Another question, this one's from Jen, about technology. Jen wants to know how you feel about advertising technology. In particular, how do you feel about its ability to infiltrate our lives? I think this is referring to things like the Facebook algorithm, right? Where it's serving you ads based on what it knows, and how it's, maybe, much deeper than 50 years ago when advertising was in print or out of home, and it couldn't be as micro-targeted as today. Do you see
Yeah,
positives, negatives of this?
Yeah, advertising is totally changed. I mean, we don't, it's totally different than it was like 40 years ago or something. But, and of course, I think that's amazing, important what algorithms are doing. And I think we should, the entire world and all the people on the planet should learn more about what it means, these algorithms and how they can influence us. But actually, I think my book is not so much about algorithms because you have to show them when you talk about them actually. But I think it's a very important issue. Yeah.
Thank you.
It's dangerous. I think it's also dangerous, algorithms in a way, because we can't see them, and it's yeah, invisible.
Yeah, I think back to your point earlier about your choice to make this an actual book rather than maybe an app or something like that, is there's something that's very empowering to the reader about this, right? Because it's, you could read it cover to cover, but you can also sort of bounce around between different chapters and pages because everything is such a discovery. So like, I feel more in control, I think, with this than if this were like a multimedia or a digital experience. So we have about 4 more minutes with Mieke if there are other audience questions. In the meantime, I have one that's just about like takeaways. You know, we've talked about a broad range of topics. You gave us an overview of some of the chapters and examples of the pages. If there's 1 or 2 takeaways that you wanted viewers today to have from this presentation and from the book, is there any thoughts that you wanted to leave with people?
No, maybe if you after this session of self-design, maybe go think about how if you would like to go yourself to a self-design academy, and let me know. Because maybe if there are a lot of people who wants to go to a self-design academy, maybe we can set it up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and take a nice walk. Maybe, I don't know what's the weather in the United States today, but here it's really nice, a summer day. So think about it, think it over, and take a small walk outside. Maybe that's a self-design thing, little self-design thing.
Yeah, that's such a lovely suggestion, to just go outside, especially for so many of us who are just working from home for 18 months now and on our devices all the time. Just go outside, and that's part of that self-design journey, it sounds like, as well. Wonderful. Well, Mieke Gerritzen, thank you so much for sharing about your book. And for folks who are tuning in today, you can get it published by Valise from artbook.com. Use AIGA member 25 for 25% off. Thank you for these amazing questions today. There's just so many more questions and things that are turning in my head as I revisit the book and just our discussion today. So this is just so rich and beautiful. So thank you all.
Thank you so much. Also, thank you for being there. Thank you for listening to me.
Wonderful. All right, we'll see you at the next AIGA and Artbook book event, or the next AIGA event in general. Have a great rest of the day and a great rest of the week. See you next time.